That's a good thing and a bad thing. Well, then you have no business watching a movie like that.
I'm just saying, some people don't know that going into it. The Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans are better, and you think Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans are better. I could see that.
Welcome to our first podcast, our first recordings of CNJ Film Fellas. I'll start off by introducing all three of us, the Big C.
Hey, it's Clayton.
Then myself, Nick.
And hey, this is Jonathan.
Big J-Bone. What we're going to do, our goal is to kind of break down movies, analyze them, rate them, discuss them, you name it. We're going to end up going over it at some point. Really, we're just a few guys who love movies. These two, more than myself. I'm portraying more of the audience. I'm portraying you guys. I want you to tell me what you think, your comments, your likes, your dislikes. I want to know everything that we are doing and can do as a whole to make this experience better for viewers, audience, everyone. For this podcast, our first episode, we will be going a little bit closer to home. We will go for our favorite movies. Not myself, these two. These are not the best movies necessarily. They're just movies that have more impact on our lives. Jonathan, I'll have you go first. Name a movie, give a reason, tell obviously why this is one of your favorite movies. If it's in your top 10, this is a movie that will hit really close to home to you. This is something you really like. You can probably watch over and over again. Clayton, put your 2 cents in anytime you want. This is free debate, free discussion. I'm going to hand it over to Jonathan. He's going to start us out.
Thanks, Nick. And just for the record, this is not our best movies. That's for a different discussion for a different day. And Clayton, I've put a lot of thought into it, a little bit too much probably. And I wrote 10 movies down, and I'm going to start off with 10 and gradually go up. Number 10 is a little movie called Pan's Labyrinth. It's directed by Guillermo del Toro. It's probably my favorite foreign movie. It's also my very first foreign movie that I've ever seen. It came out in 2007, so I must have been 17. And the fact that it's a Spanish movie really helped me broaden my horizon with love of movies and costumes.
No, considering you're not Spanish.
Yeah. And also, you can consider this movie as like an adult R-rated fairy tale movie. Because it's not for kids. It is a hard R. It is some of the scariest creatures I've ever seen in cinema are in this movie.
I think something that is more impressive about it already is that it's foreign and you don't speak Spanish.
Yeah.
You had to have read all the subtitles
for
it.
Well, yeah, and the reason why I had to bring up the Spanish, I had to emphasize on the Spanish part is because me and my grandpa, who is Hispanic, actually was able to sit down and watch this, and he was actually able to enjoy it as a film. And I was just sitting there kind of watching the movie, watching him, and he was just in love with it. So that's number 10. Number 9, Inception. That's a movie by Christopher Nolan, obviously. It stars one of my favorite actors, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Favorite.
It came out in the prominent mid to late July release date at the box office, so it made a lot of money. And what made this movie so special was for literally 5 months once the movie came out, me and my buddies were still discussing it. About the ending, about what we thought about the ending, about whether or not a totem was correct, when he stopped, holding his own totem. And it got nominated for one of the Best Picture.
That's a big factor for you if it's lasting.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you can talk about it months down the road and still feel the same way.
Yeah, and the fact that I went out and bought it on DVD and then I turned around and bought it on Blu-ray, that means that I'm willing to spend the extra money on it to help it out with the sales.
The extra value.
Yeah. So overall, Inception, any of these movies I would recommend.
I also bought that movie on Blu-ray.
Oh, it's one of, and that's Nolan and Warner Brothers, man. They IMAX. Hello, sign me up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's number 9. Number 8's kind of odd.
Okay.
It's a movie I don't think you guys have heard of, but it's a movie, like I said, that I would recommend. Number 8 is Layer Cake. Have you guys ever heard of it?
I've heard of it.
With Daniel Craig, one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
And it's by the guy who directed X-Men First Class and The Kingsman, that new movie that just came out, Matthew Vaughn. And what I like about it is that it's very pulpy. It's very It's very stylized, but yet it's convoluted. It's convoluted in a very complex plot. Like it's not even a 2-hour movie, but it's easy to watch. It's kind of something that you can sort of just breeze through. And I happen to have seen it on the IFC, and this is, I'm a big Daniel Craig fan. This was after I seen the James Bond movies, so I was like, I'm gonna watch it. Completely blown away by it.
Is that why you watched it initially? Because it had James Bond in it?
A little bit. I knew of Matthew Vaughn. I liked X-Men First Class.
What was he for X-Men First Class?
He directed it.
Oh, okay.
He directed Layer Cake and directed X-Men First Class. And what I liked about it is, like I said, it reminds me of a Guy Ritchie film without the unnecessary complications of a Guy Ritchie film. It's like Matthew Vaughn took the very best of the Guy Ritchie movies and just made a movie.
Guy Ritchie's another director, I imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, if you've seen Layer Cake, you guys will know what I'm talking about.
That don't know what is a Guy Ritchie film.
It's almost like, as an American, a Guy Ritchie film is just too British. Just with the dialogue, I can't even, I almost need to turn on the subtitles. To listen to a Guy Ritchie film. But this, like I said, this was breezy. Didn't have to turn on the subtitles. Could follow the storyline. A+ in my book. Okay, number 7 is probably the most popular, or second most popular on the list. It is Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Do I need to say any more? The best, easily.
That's pretty much all you have to say, honestly. If you say Star Wars, then you are on track.
Yeah. It's obviously the best Star Wars. Irvin Kershner directing it's the best thing to have happened to a Star Wars movie since the lightsaber came out.
That's a big statement.
Oh, I mean, that's the reason he was able to capture the things that I think George Lucas could not do as a director. Like, he was able to capture the romance of Han Solo and Leia without being all, smooching and all lovey-dovey. You really felt chemistry, and that's hard coming from two such beloved characters.
You watch the relationship evolve.
Absolutely. Besides, and I think that it's aged up well. When I recently bought this on Blu-ray.
Well, this is a movie from the 70s.
No, 80s.
80s.
80s, exactly. So when I bought this on Blu-ray, it still holds up very well, and which is very surprising. And
a side note, I have just recently watched all of the Star Wars movies for the first time, and they are now probably the best movies I have ever seen, down to the first one in 77 or 78.
77.
Episode 4.
Yeah.
All of them hit right there. They're just perfect.
And see, that's what's so good about it is that when people talk about Star Wars, they say Star Wars. Not Star Wars episode, blah, blah, blah. They say Star Wars because it blends so well the original 3.
It could be one movie, the whole thing.
Absolutely. You better believe it.
That's true.
Okay, that's number 7 on favorites. Number 6 is probably the most low-key of the movies. That or Layer Cake. Number 6 is called The Ghost Rider with
Nicolas Cage.
The Ghostwriter.
The Ghostwriter.
Oh.
With directed by Roman Polanski, and it's based on a book called I think it's called The Ghostwriter, and it's based on when Tony Blair, the Prime Minister of the UK, was in office. It's based on his stint as Prime Minister. Pierce Brosnan plays the Prime Minister, obviously based off Tony Blair, and Ewan McGregor stars as the Ghostwriter, who gets caught up in a scandal that he's not prepared for whenever he lands with the Prime Minister. Because at first, he sees it as an easy money grab because he's writing the Prime Minister's... He's ghostwriting for the Prime Minister. That's just, that's money.
I don't know what ghostwriting would even be.
That's someone that... I think a ghostwriter is someone that can't... He's someone who writes stuff that someone else that just doesn't have the ability. Like, say they
write for someone else.
Yeah, who just isn't skilled enough. And he just gets caught up in the middle of a scandal, and controversy that goes around in the movie.
But doesn't the less skilled person get the credit?
Well, I mean, yeah, they get the credit, but not
like the star power or whatever. Like
the one who they're ghost writing for would get the credits,
yeah,
and
like
then
as far as a celebrity or the face of the book, right?
And this is going a little bit too much. This is going off of a movie standpoint, but it's just he's just writing a biography. He's mentioned, I think, in the book, but by that time you're not even concerned about who's finishing the book, because right off the bat you know that something's within the first 30 minutes. You know that there's something wrong. Is that because in the movie he's actually the second ghostwriter. Something happened to the first one, and no one knows what happened.
Okay. This might be just a discussion for another day.
And
deeper, more in depth.
And I'm going on record as that the ghostwriter had by far the best ending I've ever seen in a movie. By far. No contest.
Altogether, in cinematography, the best ending.
Yeah.
A major statement.
Yeah, the twist is brilliant, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Number 5 is a movie that I just watched the other day. Zodiac.
For the first time, you just watched this?
No. This is probably the 13th time.
I would say it would be have to be a pretty mean movie to make your number 4 in one watch. Number 5.
I have a poster of this movie in my room if it shows any significance of it. And what I love about this movie is that it's obviously based off the 1960s and 1970s Zodiac killing, which I find very fascinating.
But you were a criminal justice major or a psychology major?
By the way.
Yeah, who's never caught. So I liked the whole...
What were you never caught doing?
But what this movie really dives into, number 1, like I said, I love the topic. Love that it's about a serial killer, because I find that super fascinating. But what I loved the most about this movie is not only is it directed by David Fincher, who is one of my all-time favorites. Now, what I do love, obviously, is the cast as well. It has a Jake Gyllenhaal, a pre-Iron Man Robert Downey Jr.
RDJ, my boy.
Exactly.
Amazing cast.
A pre-Hulk Bruce Banner Mark Ruffalo, who's very underrated in my opinion.
New Hulk?
Agreed.
Yeah, the new Hulk, the one that's in the Avengers.
Okay.
But like I said, my favorite thing is that they're able to capture the competition between the police force and the San Francisco Chronicle about clues. You see the San Francisco Chronicle lying to the police department about clues because they want the scoop on the story, while the police are saying, hey, you can't be saying this stuff in the news. You're going to scare audience. You're going to scare the public. So it really is a cat and mouse game between the Zodiac killer and the police with the newspaper, because they all have different sides to the story that they're all trying to get. I mean, there's scenes where you see, Robert Downey Jr., who works for the Chronicle in the movie, talking to police officers, asking them, hey, what kind of evidence do you got? Because I got this sent to me personally. It's just so intriguing.
Yeah.
Plus, the Jake Gyllenhaal's character, the news reporter, he, not to butt in on your movie,
no, it's fine,
but he goes after the killer 15 years
Yeah.
farther than the police after they didn't give up on him.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, like I said, that's another thing I love. It's about obsession. That's the inner core of the movie. It's obsession. Okay. That's number 5. This is number 4, and it's Casino Royale.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we might have seen that coming.
Yeah. Like I said.
Who is it, Daniel Craig?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, on a side note, is that Layer Cake, my number 8, that movie was an audition, in a way, for Sony Pictures to pick up Daniel Craig as James Bond. He is just a killer in this movie.
What was Layer Cake his first movie?
That was the movie that kind of
brought him into the
light and kind of had that character of, the character of James Bond.
Daniel Craig's somewhat underrated in his acting skills.
Yeah, it's
I
just...
mean, he's a star
Yeah.
for being the next James Bond, obviously.
Yeah.
But those are action movies. He
Yeah.
doesn't really get to show his acting skills, which he's a phenomenal actor.
No. I mean, I agree. What movie that I mean, he can handle changing his accent very well. You know, he doesn't have a problem getting in shape and out of shape for roles. Very underrated Academy acting wise.
Not to get off topic, but Road to Perdition
Yeah.
is a good example of his acting skill as an actual actor.
Or you know, even another one that almost made the list is Munich. Daniel Craig doesn't mess around in Munich. In fact, he kind of makes his James Bond character look like a pussy. But okay, going back to the movie though, this is one of the movies that has a sentimental value to me, because I was at my grandparents' house and they just casually had it on Netflix, and I asked my grandma about it, and she's like, "Yeah, it's a great movie. You should watch it sometime." And at first I was like, "No, I don't. Don't have time." Well, I sat down and watched it, and still to this day I thank her.
And it was actually recommended to you by your Nana,
Yeah.
who you hold of such high regard.
Yeah, and still to this day, I actually talk about how much I love that movie thanks to her. I mean, I bought 3 different versions of the movie. I bought the
That's
DVD.
dedication.
Yeah, it's dedication. I bought the DVD. I bought the traditional Blu-ray, and then I bought the director's cut Blu-ray.
Was director's cut just extra
That's just
scenes?
extra footage, better picture quality.
That is dedication, my friend.
And it's just overall, and the biggest effect though, it introduced me to James Bond. I had no interest in seeing the Brosnans or the Connerys because they're kind of cheesy, but Daniel Craig completely takes it out. The first 20 minutes, you see him killing 2 people. He doesn't mess around. Okay, that's number 4. Number 3 is probably the movie that I have seen the most on this list, and it's roughly about 19-20 times. Don't tease. It's The Departed from 2006, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, which is in Inception, so obviously he's one of my favorite actors, and it's directed by my favorite director of all time, Martin Scorsese. And it's not Scorsese's best movie, but it's damn close. It mimics his best movie. And the fact that the characters can, they have funny characters, but yet very violent, very serious environments. The fact that Jack Nicholson talks to the camera the very first time, in the very first shot.
What is that, just classic Scorsese?
Yeah, that's vintage Scorsese. Along with the fact that he knows how to incorporate music better than any other director. The scene where you see DiCaprio walking up to meet his aunt at his house, and it's playing Shipping Off to Boston, and the music turns right off when the door opens. It's like literally putting on and taking off headphones. It's masterful. And the guy is 70 and can direct a movie of this quality. It's mind-blowing. One of my favorite movies. Bought a poster, have the DVD, I have the Steelbook DVD. This is a movie, it's very, very violent, I should say, but if you can handle the mature content, I would recommend this movie to anybody.
Now, was this movie a book as well, or no?
It's based on a foreign movie I think it's called Infernal Affairs.
Okay.
But Scorsese, it's better than the remake. I've seen it.
I completely agree. I would highly recommend that movie as well.
Yeah, and this, by the way, was the last time the Academy Awards got the movie 100% correct.
What do you mean by that?
Because Best Picture, by far obviously the best picture in 2006. Because the Academy Awards kind of have a iffy relationship with the contemporaries of America. They don't.
Well, how many judge the awards? I don't know much about it.
It's just it's a board of a certain amount of people. Not a lot of people know.
So it could be biased.
Yeah.
Obviously.
But just the fact that they were able to land this one movie. This is the best movie to win the Oscars in 10 years.
You said it's the only one that you agree with lately?
Yeah, and within the last 10 years. 100% agree. Now, the year that No Country for Old Men, it was a toss-up between There Will Be Blood and No Country. I would have been fine if There Will Be Blood would have won because Daniel Day-Lewis kills it. But, No Country's great. But in 2006, man, there's a reason why Scorsese got a standing ovation when he went up to receive the Oscar, because it deserved it. He deserved it.
Everyone knew already.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, number 2 on the list is undoubtedly the most popular movie. I think it's well known, the most popular movie of the last 10 years.
Ooh.
Yeah. And you'll understand once I say it. It's The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger and Christopher Nolan. That's
Okay.
and there's a reason why that movie made over $500 million domestically in the United States.
Just in the U.S., not the rest of the world.
Just because that movie didn't really come out of nowhere, but Batman Begins was kind of a sleeper. It did modest. So when The Dark Knight came out, it was just like a slap in the face saying, hey, this is the new Batman movie, and it's a crime movie. It's more of like The Heat or The Departed and less comic-y.
Because it takes more of a stance on the villain.
Yeah. It's the most thought-provoking one. Yep. Obviously, with it being number 2 on my favorite movie, I place it as the best comic book movie of all time.
And for it to be a sequel and to be better than the original, that's kind of saying a lot too, considering I don't watch nearly as many movies, but very rarely are the sequels better unless you're talking about Harry Potter or Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, Nick, you know, it's almost well known that The Dark Knight is the best one, right?
Well, if you think about movies, you almost think of The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
The Batman movies.
And that don't, it's like the 3rd or 4th most popular movie on IMDb, sitting in between a movie that's 40 years old and a movie that's 20 years old. I mean, The Dark Knight's not even 9 years old. And it's in between movies that are from the 70s and the 90s.
Not even 10 years old yet.
It's not only is it the single-handedly best movie I've ever seen in the theaters, it's a movie that really defined the 2000s. When people think of the movies in cinema in 2000s, The Dark Knight might be number 1. It'll be up there.
It kind of set standards for a lot of movies, which is hard to follow after something like that.
I mean, and Heath Ledger's Joker, personally, is my favorite movie character of all time, and I would rank him 2nd on all-time villain list, only behind Darth Vader. But it's just if he was alive today, may he rest in peace, Heath Ledger would be the biggest movie star on the planet. And that's not even a question.
100% agreed.
Yeah. I mean, just look back, guys, in mid-July 2008. You could not escape the fan base of The Dark Knight. That was number 1 at the box office for a month straight. That was the first movie since, I think, Return of the King to do so. And that's beating out heavy hitters like The Pineapple Express and Step Brothers and Tropic Thunder. That shows real lasting power. And what makes that movie real magical is that not only is it the first comic book movie, and I think the only comic book movie to garner acting and Oscar recognition, is the fact that at the end of the day, us viewers showed how good it was by it racking over $500 million just domestically. Because people realized at the end of the day, we do want a good movie. We don't want a mindless summer blockbuster all the time. We want a thought-provoking crime drama that just happens to be a superhero movie.
And to me, this actually means a lot coming from Jonathan, because this is a guy who has read damn near every comic book there is over Marvel.
Yeah.
I know you're a huge Marvel fan. I know you've actually seen, you've read the comics.
Yeah.
I've seen movies with you that you can literally tell me what was supposed to happen.
And I have X-Men t-shirts, Marvel t-shirts. But just the fact that this one, man, I have so much respect for Nolan and Ledger and even Christian Bale, who's kind of underrated because he gets overlooked because Heath Ledger did a tour de force of a performance. That thing, he's like a hurricane in that movie.
And one thing to add to that movie is you almost forget that it's a superhero movie.
Oh, yeah, like I said, it's a crime movie. It just happened to be the lead guy wears a cape.
Just happens to be Batman.
Yeah. So it's just
because the movie is more on the side of the villain.
Yeah. It's more crime, more gang violence, no fantasy.
And like you said, Batman is almost overshadowed.
Yeah.
Because not just Heath Ledger's performance, but that's what the movie's about.
Sure.
The Joker.
And, you know, and what I loved, so this is from a technical standpoint, is that Nolan's kind of famous for not using CGI. He prefers practical effects. So that famous scene where Batman is able to tip over that diesel that Joker is riding, that really was a diesel flipping over.
By he, you mean Christopher Nolan, the director?
That's, we mean he, like, that's...
He just meant Batman flips it over.
Yeah, when Batman flips over the diesel
front ways.
Yeah, front ways, and it does a complete front flip. That's no CGI being lazy. That's on scene on a road in Chicago using practical.
They set that up.
Yeah, practical effects.
He, as in Batman, flips it in the movie, but he's meaning.
But I have respect for Nolan to go out to do so much more.
He captured it. That's why I thought.
Yeah, no, it's Nolan.
Spend the extra money and take the extra risk.
Yeah.
Of flipping an actual diesel over rather than just doing it by computer.
Rather than someone spending however long it takes just to do it on a computer and be safe.
That shows his love for cinema. Okay.
It's an amazing director.
Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I mean,
obviously, Inception was on my list. But
now, this brings us to your number one, right?
Yeah, this is my number one.
Okay.
This means that if I was to be on an island stuck with one movie the rest of my life, this would be it by far. And that is Goodfellas.
I was watching this
Yeah.
for the rest of your life every day.
Just this movie.
If you had to.
Yeah, and it's Goodfellas. I think this movie should be played at every American film institution in the country.
26 minutes.
And because it epitomizes what Scorsese does best. Like we talked about in The Departed, his use of music, his sharp angles with the camera, his encouragement for actors to improvise. There is one scene in particular where Scorsese famously encouraged Joe Pesci to improvise, and that is the clown speech at the bar.
I've never seen Goodfellas. You have to describe this moment to me.
Well, okay. First of all, that's the scene that won Joe Pesci his Oscar, his supporting Oscar. He killed it. It's where they're at the bar just bullshitting. You know, they bullied the owner into owning it, and Joe Pesci's character Tommy is kind of a psycho, but he's good at telling stories and he's kind of funny. Well, Henry Hill, Ray Liotta, goes, you know what? That's a good story. You're pretty funny. And Joe Pesci kind of flips his switch, like, how is that funny? How am I funny to you? Am I a clown? Is that my job? Is to make you guys laugh? What the fuck is so funny about me? But everyone knows that he's crazy. That he's flipped his switch from funny, nice Tommy to I'm gonna kill you, Tommy.
What do you mean he was the funny, nice clown guy before?
No warning whatsoever.
Yeah, no warning. And so Ray Liotta kind of looks at him like, you're kind of, you're funny the way you said it. And Joe Pesci kind of looks at him like, I'm gonna break your teeth in. And
this is just a bipolar flip of personality.
Yeah.
And it was completely improvised.
And it's so scary that other people are pitching in, explaining him to him. They're saying, Joe, no, Tommy, he meant like this. And Pesci's like, no, he can explain for himself. He knows what he said. He goes, what the hell is so funny about me? He gets in his face, and it was to the point where Ray Liotta's like, okay, you know what, his character's thinking, I'm just gonna say this and hope he doesn't kill me. And he just said, you gotta be kidding, Tommy, you get the fuck out of here. And then that's when he goes, yeah, I'd like to see how well you could do in a police interrogation. You barely held up for 10 minutes. Oh, it's just, but no, the look, the sheer terror of Tommy's, the sheer look of terror on Henry Hill's face while he's looking at Tommy. Because everyone knows in this movie that Tommy is the enforcer. He's the one who, you want to kill somebody, you're going to go to him.
He's a psycho.
Yeah, because he's a psycho. So the look on his face just gives it away. And the fact that Tommy can feed off of his insecurities and him being scared just makes him even more psycho.
Completely improvised scene.
Yeah. You guys, go on YouTube and type in Joe Pesci, clown, Goodfellas. That scene is brilliant. Ray Liotta literally does not know what the fuck to say. So that's one of the best scenes. And another scene I gotta give out to is the very last scene where it shows Joe Pesci shooting the gun to the camera. That's actually an homage to an older movie called The Great Train Robbery. So it's just little subtle, hints and little subtle Easter eggs in movies and Scorsese movies that I love, because he really knows cinema. And when he dies, he will be regarded, and that's a fact, he will be regarded not only as the best American director, he'll be better than Kubrick, better than Hitchcock. He will be the best director of all time. So Clayton, what'd you think about my list?
Well, I had maybe I think I had a couple of movies on there on my list too as well. But I would have to overall agree with it. Probably out of your 10, I probably agreed with 7.
7 meaning that you could see myself putting them on the list, but not yours personally?
I could agree with them.
Okay.
I could agree with 7 of the 10 probably.
Okay.
Agree with them being
on
a list
of someone's top 10 favorite movies.
Sure.
I can see that.
Sure.
Okay.
Wait, which ones would you not agree with?
Yeah,
Sorry to throw that out there and make some conflict.
I guess I have to agree with like the ones I haven't seen. Obviously, I can't put them in there
But just give me the 3, because you said 7 that you would agree with. Just give me the 3.
I guess Layer Cake.
Okay, sure. That's not very pulpy, like I said, not for.
But have you seen Layer Cake?
No. And I haven't.
Just by the description, you mean you wouldn't?
Yeah, I just.
Be as interested?
Well, no, I think it's strictly because I haven't seen it, so I can't just put it on the list if I've never seen it.
Well, like I said, it's just the fact that it introduced Daniel Craig as James Bond, and the fact that it shows a young Tom Hardy in it.
Is that Bane?
Yeah, a young Bane in the movie. It's very good.
Okay, and then I think literally the 3 would be because I haven't seen them.
Okay.
Which would be Layer Cake, Star Wars.
I'm not even going to that one.
Yeah, let's end that there.
And probably.
What was it?
Well, I guess the other one would be The Ghost Rider, just simply because I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen Pan's Labyrinth, but the like legend that it carries.
Yeah.
I could see it. I've heard of a lot of people saying that it goes on there.
Yeah.
That it would probably be one of their favorites
Well, like
of all
I said,
time.
This is probably the second lowest key movie on the list is The Ghost Rider, and it has very, very underrated Ewan McGregor, who's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
In
The Ghost Rider.
But Obi in which one?
The prequels.
Okay.
So it's one of those movies where everybody that I've recommended to, they've loved it. I've recommended it to several buddies, and they said that ending, damn.
One note too, Ewan McGregor probably still to this day is underrated actor.
Very, very underrated, and it's a shame too because he's talented.
He's very talented.
And this is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
I appreciate his talent.
Episodes 1, 2, and 3.
And now I guess we're ready for your top 10. Do you have anything else to say about your movies, Jonathan?
No, but I'm curious as to what his list will be.
So let's bring it to Clay Dog and see what your opinions.
All right. This is my favorite top 10 list movies of all time because mine's going to be a whole lot more ranged as far as genre and kind of randomly on here because
Sure.
me and Jonathan are kind of completely different as far as genres of movies. I'm more into comedies and horrors than he is. But
I want to make a note slightly more into comedies. I love a good comedy.
Here goes.
I mean, who doesn't?
Here goes Clayton's favorite top 10 favorite movies of all time. Okay. Number 10 is Dumb and Dumber.
Nice. Right on.
Because I think it takes a pretty good set to put a comedy on a top 10 favorite movie list because that movie, directed by the Farley brothers, which
Who, Chris Farley?
Are like comedy. That's just what they're known for.
Yeah.
But that movie just epitomizes Jim Carrey's comedic skills in the 90s.
Oh, absolutely, man. Just his physical style. There was none better.
If they would give Oscars to people for acting in comedies, Jim Carrey would have nailed it.
Yeah, and also I feel like because Jim Carrey was literally the first movie actor to get $20 million in a movie, he was the biggest movie star on the planet. Jeff Daniels doesn't get enough credit.
No, he doesn't.
Because he can hold his own against Jim Carrey.
But Jim Carrey definitely deserves that spot.
Jim Carrey was the greatest. He ruled the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
physically, comedy-wise, he ruled the 90s. Better than Adam Sandler, better than, pretty much better than anyone that was making comedies in the 90s. He just ruled it. But, yeah, and I believe this movie is on there too because, like I said, but you have Jeff Daniels, who is like a trained dramatic actor who you had, like I said, you had Jim Carrey, you had, Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, Liar Liar.
It was pretty much Jim Carrey, the movie star, versus Jeff Daniels, the actor.
Yeah. And you just bring Jeff Daniels out of fucking nowhere into a comedic role, and he fucking kills it.
He kills it. That's like his most famous role, both of them.
He kills it.
Yeah. And the fact that I think it's the funniest movie this side of Anchorman.
Oh, yeah.
It's
not, it's definitely the funniest movie of the 90s.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which Jim Carrey ruled, by the way.
Yeah.
But it could be up there. It's up there, no doubt, in the funniest movies of all time.
Oh, absolutely. And if you don't think so, you're an idiot.
Yeah, Jim Carrey nails it. He might be the greatest
physical comedy actor.
Oh, he's the greatest, physical comedy actor of all time.
Man. The things that he could do with his face and the noises.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
That he did not care what he was doing. He was just a free spirit, that man.
Absolutely.
If you have never seen Dumb and Dumber, you need to take an hour and a half of your life, sit down and watch Dumb and Dumber, and you will see what I'm talking about. Okay. So, number 9 is completely across the other side of the spectrum.
Okay, jumping around.
It's a horror film.
Oh, God.
Halloween.
Oh.
The original 1978 Halloween, directed by John Carpenter. And the reason it's on my list is because this movie is almost 40 years old, and to this day, it still scares the living shit out of me.
I can see, it's a classic. I'm not one to deny it being a classic, but I just don't know how well it has aged. I am a fan of some horror movies. Like, I like the Rob Zombie one. The Rob Zombie one's, it's a little bit more contemporary. I just don't know how well the 78 one, but I can acknowledge its greatness.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And, there's not really so much more to go into that one. It's just that it's on my favorite because I am such a horror fan, and it is a classic to a horror fan.
Yeah.
And so it's my favorite horror movie of all time.
Sure.
Okay. Number 8. And these are all probably going to throw you for a loop, Jonathan, but here we go.
I'm sure.
The Dark Knight Rises.
Really?
Which one is this, number 3?
This is
okay, I haven't seen number 3, actually.
And the main focal point and the reason that this one is on my list is Bane's performance, played by Tom Hardy.
Well, okay, yeah. It's not the tour de force of Heath Ledger, but I feel like Tom Hardy is introduced better in that airplane IMAX scene compared to the IMAX bank robbery scene. I feel like that scene as a whole is better choreographed, better acted, much more skilled. It's just, man, my thing with The Dark Knight...
You agree with that, Clayton?
Yeah, I agree 100%.
My thing with The Dark Knight, though, it's a good movie. It's one of my favorites. It's one of the best. But it just starts out at an impossibly high standard with the airplane scene that it would be impossible to keep up with.
Do you think maybe that Christopher Nolan did that on purpose because of coming off of the success of The Dark Knight?
I feel like he was overwhelmed by the success, and I'll say this. Out of all 3 Batman movies, that airplane scene is the second best scene in all the trilogy.
Do you think maybe he felt like he had to be that high because of where The Dark Knight left off?
Yeah, and given the budget, the budget is one of the most expensive movies ever made. So him having to feel like that, plus the money to back it up, he knows how to direct an action sequence.
Because, you've got one of the greatest villain performances of all time in Heath Ledger and the Joker.
Yeah.
And, he carries that movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the scene that he leaves off where he's hanging upside down.
Yeah.
Is just classic. It's just.
But what are some other reasons why The Dark Knight Rises is 8th on your list?
Like I said, I do agree with you the way that Bane is introduced.
Sure, absolutely.
And one reason why I love all of Christopher Nolan's takes on Batman is because in every scene, in every one, his villains are so subtle.
The entryway is subtle, yeah.
They're not just like the way they're introduced is just you've got, you know, Liam Neeson and the Scarecrow.
Yeah. No, I didn't even think about Batman Begins. Yeah, you're right.
The way they're just, I mean, because...
And they came out of nowhere.
Spoiler alert, Liam Neeson starts out as a good guy.
Yeah. Something that you would not expect.
And he screws Batman over after Batman saves him.
You know, that puts some good thought into the fact that no one knows how to hide characters very well. And you don't even realize that Heath Ledger's the final clown until he takes off that mask.
Yeah.
And he's so good at the art of just, you know...
And the fact that he's so crazy that he just kills all of the guys he had help rob that bank.
Yeah.
Just so he can leave out with all the money.
And that's the opening scene for
The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But like I said, I feel like my thing with The Dark Knight Rises is that the best scene's the beginning.
I understand where it starts off, but I think people will understand a little bit because of the way The Dark Knight leads off.
Now do you tell? Because I felt like this, especially later on with the movie, because, you know, it took 4 years between The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. Did you ever feel like Nolan was maybe tired? He was exhausted directing such high-profile movies that he was just like, you know what, I don't care anymore. I have my money. This movie's going to make $1 billion anyways.
It could be, too. And
I think it showed signs of fatigue.
I could see that, but it's like he had to make a third one.
Yeah.
You couldn't just end the story. And I'm almost positive that if Heath Ledger wouldn't have died, he would have been in the third one.
You're right, but I'm also positive that Warner Brothers would have made one without Christopher Nolan. He says, hey, you're not the boss. It's just your vision of the movies. We control the budget. We get the profit. We don't need you. If you want to be on board with this $1 billion film franchise, go right ahead. We'll hire someone else. You're telling me someone else wouldn't want to direct The Dark Knight Rises?
Yeah, I know.
So they didn't really need Nolan.
No.
But it helped.
Oh, yeah, it helped. Because, two, it wouldn't have been the same concept.
Yeah.
Because Christopher Nolan does a certain thing with his movies.
Yeah.
Okay, on to number 7, which is a film on your list.
Really?
It is your number 1.
No way!
Goodfellas.
Hell yeah.
And
that's so awesome.
My main reason that the Goodfellas is, which, going back to your improv scene with Joe Pesci, it is one of the greatest scenes improv'd ever.
Ever. Yeah.
And they should show that movie in like
film
improv classes and film schools.
Absolutely.
You know, this is how you improv when you're just told, here's a camera, go.
Yeah,
and Joe Pesci nails it, and it obviously won him his Oscar.
It's funny to me because you guys didn't collaborate with these lists or anything.
This is the first time I've seen this list.
Yeah.
And you still haven't even seen the whole thing.
All of our lists are going to be.
Yeah.
Because there's no fun in collaborating.
There's no right or wrong.
Well, you know, and like we talked about, just the fact that Scorsese, which I'm obviously anything with Scorsese, I'm gonna be biased anyways. Just the fact that he can use music and the cinematography is always top notch with him.
Oh yeah.
You know, the fact that he could like the scene where he's snorting the cocaine and he kind of coughs, and all of a sudden when he coughs, he hears that song "Bad to the Bone" playing, and it zooms in on Ray Liotta's face. It's kind of hard to believe that Scorsese's in his 70s, because a movie like that would have exhausted a person half his age.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to number 5, which is another... I'm sorry,
number 6, right?
Number 6, I'm sorry. Moving on to number 6 is another movie on your list.
Right on.
Scorsese.
Okay.
The Departed.
Really? You scored The Departed higher than Goodfellas?
Yep. Wow. And the reason is that I don't know, I like, we've discussed this before, I like The Departed overall as a movie better than Goodfellas.
You know, it's almost like The Departed is Goodfellas 2.0. I like the originality. I like how a movie like this is 20 plus years old and has aged this well. But you have a good point. It is.
But the main reason Goodfellas and The Departed are on my list and that they're together is because that is the two best movies depicted of a Boston
no kidding
crime era.
Yeah, good point. Absolutely.
15 years apart.
Yeah.
And it's by the same and it's good that the same director can go from 1991 all the way up to 2006 and still just like own what it's like to be in a Boston
own the
movie.
Boston crime genre. Yeah.
And have two completely different movies, different characters.
Yeah.
And they all nail it.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing about The Departed is the way that, I mean, of course, the legendary Jack Nicholson kills it as the boss.
I agree.
And then I love how you can't pick between Matt Damon and Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
As far as like who kind of carries the movie,
who's the lead?
or who's better.
Yeah.
You just can't. They're both so good, spoiler alert, at playing a rat.
Yeah.
That it's just, and
well, even the smaller roles like Alec Baldwin and Mark Wahlberg, they both kill it.
Oh, Mark Wahlberg kills it.
You know,
Mark Wahlberg
you know
completely kills it. And then you've got Martin Sheen.
Yeah.
Who kills it.
Yeah.
And who is not really known for his acting.
No.
He's just kind of.
What do you mean? Was he a dancer or singer?
It's just
Charlie Sheen's dad.
It's just Martin Sheen's was never gonna win an Oscar.
No.
But the fact that he can get in a Scorsese movie with these with Jack Nicholson, with these screen legends like Ray Winstone, who's very underrated in that movie as Frank's under captain.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, he is. He's very underrated because he plays that part fucking amazing.
Yeah.
He nails it. And just the fact, I love the fact how he goes out on his own terms at the end of the movie because he's kind of the epitome of like a Boston thug.
Yeah.
Number 2 guy.
Yeah, Winstone?
Yeah, he's like, he wrecks his car or whatever and he's already shot in the side and I think the neck or something.
Yeah.
And he's just like, fuck this. And he shoots himself right in the head.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I'm not going out like, a little bitch going to get arrested.
No, a person that caliber couldn't get arrested.
No, because he's like, I'll just, I really, and the ending of that movie.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Is one of the greatest ending sequences of all time.
It's probably on my list at top 10. It probably has the second best ending on my list.
And I love the way at the end.
Don't spoil it too heavy, my friend.
No, I'm saying I love the way at the end when who is in the apartment.
Yeah, you're like, oh my God, why didn't I think of it?
And you're like, holy shit, I forgot about him.
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say.
And then after that scene, you'll understand this after you watch the movie. When the camera goes out to the balcony and there is a rat that just walks across the balcony.
Oh man, it's
just completely tying together that entire movie.
With Leonard Skinner's Freebird playing, it gives you chills, man, every damn time. Because I just watched that movie probably three months ago on Blu-ray. It still gets
to Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, it still gives me chills as if I was in high school again watching it.
And you know it's coming.
Yeah.
And it still gives you chills.
Oh my God. Like I said, the last time the Oscars were 100% correct.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and you have to give the credit not just to Martin Scorsese, but the cast.
Yeah.
Whoever casted that movie is just top notch. Okay, moving on to number 5. Is a movie by Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, okay.
Django.
Really?
Django,
huh?
Django is on my top 5 because
I didn't have any Tarantino movies. I thought there were some that were like 10 and 11. So
because Tarantino is my favorite director, with Scorsese number 2.
Okay.
That's one thing we can agree on.
Yeah.
Scorsese obviously one of the best.
Yeah, I mean Tarantino is probably like my 4th or 5th, so he's up there too. Out of all the directors in Hollywood, I would pick 4 others before him. That's saying something.
Oh yeah, considering how many directors there are and how many famous directors there are. I mean, you got Spielberg.
Yeah.
Ron Howard.
Yeah.
Kubrick, Hitchcock,
Paul Thomas Anderson, David Fincher, Christopher Nolan.
You got all those, and to pick only 4 above Quentin Tarantino is pretty. Because I just love his style of movies.
Yeah, no, I love it too. He's the second best when it comes to cutting the choreographed and using music. Second best.
But what really did in Django for me is Leonardo DiCaprio's performance.
No, I agree.
I'm not kidding.
He makes it.
Nails it.
Yeah.
And I know he's only kind of a spoiler alert, like an hour and 20 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, he shouldn't have even been recognized in the movie.
No, he shouldn't have been marketed.
Only for a surprise, a shock factor.
Yeah, that would have helped
Because
with the box office.
could you imagine sitting in a Tarantino...
Sitting in a theater, all of a sudden DiCaprio, you hear his voice and you're like, that's not, he doesn't even sound like DiCaprio. You're like, who's this hillbilly from Mississippi? And then you zoom in and you're like, oh my God.
Because I love the way he's introduced in that movie.
Yeah, that's so...
Tarantino fucking nails it. He's like, you know, he comes in and he's asking him what he's there for, and he's like, you know, he's telling him he's there to look for Mandingo fighting, and he's like, a good bit of fun, yeah, and he's like, you should join us. And then he just turns around and it's just like, Tarantino has that amazing zoom in.
Yeah, absolutely.
That he does.
Absolutely.
And it's almost comedic at times.
Yeah, no, it is.
The way it zooms in, but you're like, holy shit, that's Leonardo DiCaprio in a Tarantino movie.
You know, and you know, it's kind of...
He definitely shouldn't have been on the poster.
No. And you know what, going back to the comedic aspect, it's so that his movies in general, but specifically Django, and I'm not talking about the racial slurs or anything, obviously, but the violence, the grotesque violence is actually kind of funny because it's just so over the top. You know, whenever he shoots that person, whenever at the very beginning they shoot that guy on that horse, the slave owners, there's literally blood pouring out.
And I love, too, the way that he, like, uses his dialogue in that movie.
Yeah.
Because you see that the very first thing that guy says is, like, who's out there stumbling in the dark? He's like, show yourself or prepared to be, what does he say? I forgot what he says exactly. Yeah. Prepared to get winged. And it's like, that's how they used to talk back then. And Tarantino just nails it.
Yeah, he really nails. Well, that's why it was so offensive, because that's how it was back then.
Because you just see this subtle Christoph Waltz just riding a carriage with a horse, and he's just coming across, and then all of a sudden, you know,
is he a doctor?
Yeah,
he's
a
dentist.
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 And you've got this, you got this dentist with a bouncing tooth on top of his thing, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, he's a badass.
Yeah.
And he just shoots that guy right in the head, shoots that other guy efficiently to knock his horse on top of him, where he can't go nowhere, but also proving, hey, I'll fucking kill you if I want to.
Yeah.
Because he just shot his brother in the head.
Because he's smart.
Yeah.
He's not just some mindless hillbilly. He's not even, he's from Germany.
Yeah.
So.
And he just, and that's not even Christoph Waltz's best performance.
No, and you know what? I don't feel like enough credit goes out to Jamie Foxx, because he gets caught up in between the Oscar-winning performance that was Christoph Waltz and the scene stealer Leonardo DiCaprio. Jamie Foxx is a movie star.
Oh yeah, by far. He's an Oscar winner.
Yeah, he is. You're right. So, just a quick shout out to Jamie Foxx in that movie.
Yeah. Most definitely. And also a shout out to Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
He kills it.
Yeah.
As the
No, my favorite scene is when they're in the back, Samuel L. Jackson and DiCaprio are talking in the back, and DiCaprio's actually referring to him. Because that really shows who really knows about, who really owns Candyland.
Yeah.
It's not DiCaprio, it's the head slave that is Samuel L. Jackson. He knows more about that than DiCaprio ever did.
Because then that's when you see that there's absolutely nothing wrong with the 70-year-old character of Samuel Jackson, who all of a sudden just drops his cane and he has a normal voice, and he's just like, and
that's brilliant.
He's just like his number two as far as like, telling him what's going on, and like DiCaprio's the only one that knows. He's not some crippled old man that's been on that plantation for 70 years that can barely get around.
No, that's a great point, man.
Props to Django, Jamie Foxx in the movie, that he figures that out.
Yeah.
Because at the end, he's like, how many slaves you think you've seen come and go here? He's like, 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, whatever. He's like 9,999. He's like, because he tells him he's that one in like 10,000 nigger that, whatever.
Yeah. Which before you go on to number 4, like I said, that movie doesn't get enough credit for how funny it is. That KKK scene with Jonah Hill. Oh yeah. My God, I was literally laughing.
Don Johnson.
Literally laughing in theaters.
Very, very good cameo by Don Johnson as well.
Yeah.
That's I could go on. That's another time for another day. Yeah. But I could go on with that.
Well, is it a cameo from Jonah Hill as well? Because I'm a huge Jonah Hill fan.
Yeah, Jonah Hill's in it.
Okay, I haven't seen this movie, but
I'll set you up. He plays a KKK member.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could see it
So,
with Jonah.
He plays a baghead. Is what his title is in
Yeah.
the movie. But you'll see why in the movie that he's called that. But
Okay.
Moving on to number
4.
4, which I think you will like.
Okay.
Nightcrawler.
No way. That's a great movie. Holy shit.
You know, I'm
Nightcrawler.
honestly surprised that Jonathan didn't have that on there.
No,
Only because
that's-
I heard you talk about it
No,
first.
that's in a way that movie is too new to be on my favorite. That was one of my favorite movies of last year. One of the best movies of last year.
I could definitely
But
see
no,
that.
I gotta give you mad props for Nightcrawler. That was a damn good movie.
Nightcrawler
Holy
is on my list because, of course, favorites. I could watch it. I've watched it like 10 times
Oh, yeah,
probably.
I
I
mean-
could watch it 10 more.
I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal's probably my second favorite actor.
Oh, and Jake Gyllenhaal nails a Oscar-winning
Yep.
performance.
And it's a shame that
And is not even recognized
Yeah.
by
the Academy Board.
The Academy
That's a
Board.
shame.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
not even recognized, and he not just Oscar nominated, he puts on an Oscar winning
Yeah.
performance because he is fucking insane.
And I think that was a directorial debut of Terry Gilliam, if I'm not
Now,
mistaken.
Terry Gilliam did
It was
Imaginarium of
It was
Dr.
Dan.
Parnassus.
It was Dan Gilroy. Am I correct?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Dan
So that's
Gilroy.
quite the
Quite the debut.
when people are up when
Get
people
a
are
mega
mad.
star
Yeah.
like Jake Gyllenhaal give you
that.
A performance of that caliber.
I have to give props for the director for going out and getting Jake Gyllenhaal, and
Yeah.
I have to give Jake Gyllenhaal props for giving an Oscar-winning performance to a director who is not known.
Because I feel like Jake Gyllenhaal, that was a performance that he could have done. He could not have done 10 years ago.
No.
He just wasn't qualified.
No.
So mad shout out to Nightcrawler. That's the biggest surprise so far on the list.
Okay. And my main reason for Nightcrawler is Jake Gyllenhaal's performance.
Yeah.
If you've never seen that movie,
It's on Netflix.
clips for his performance could also be shown for playing like just a psychotic
Absolutely.
just character.
Yeah.
Because he's not necessarily a psychotic killer.
Well, he's not crazy.
No,
He's like psychotic.
yeah, he's psychotic.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to number 3 on my favorite list, which is a Best Picture winner,
Okay.
No Country for Old Men.
That movie's going on, let's just say, in a few days with my best of. No Country is a great movie.
No Country is an Oscar-winning Best Picture movie for a reason.
Yeah.
Because you have Oscar-nominated performances by Josh Brolin,
Yep.
Tommy Lee Jones, Oscar-winning performance, Javier Bardem.
And let me just say, and for those who haven't really noticed, Javier Bardem started the trend of villains winning Oscar roles, supporting Oscars, because it went from Bardem to Ledger to Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Basterds. That's 3 years in a row of villain winning.
Or does that not happen
no,
often?
No,
That's insane.
no, 3 years in a row, no. So in a way, you could say he set the bar for. I mean, like I said, there are better performances, but he set the bar for crazy villains.
To win an Oscar.
Yeah.
To win Best Actor.
Yeah, and it's one of those where I've read the book, and I've also watched the movie, and the movie's par on par with the book, and a lot of people kind of understand where if a movie is based on the book's better. This one could go neck and neck. I can totally imagine Javier Bardem playing Shigor, Tommy Lee Jones playing what's his name, Bale. I could totally see Josh Brolin playing Llewellyn Moss.
And shout out to a cameo by Woody Harrelson in that movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
He nails it.
Even in the book, I'm like, that's Woody Harrelson. I swear to God.
Yeah. And the main reason for that movie is also one of my favorite endings to a movie.
Yeah, that's up there.
The
That's
story
up
that
there.
Tommy Lee Jones tells about the
Yeah.
dream that he had about his dad.
It doesn't get enough credit because it's not black and white. But you're right. It's one of the best endings I've seen.
Oh, yeah.
You really have to watch it though. You can't just casually watch No Country for Old Men.
No, you have to watch it.
And
The best scene in the movie is... Call it.
Yeah, whenever he's harassing that gas station worker and he says, what time do you close?
He pretty much just threatens him.
Yeah, that scene where he goes, he asks him, he goes, what time do you close? And the gas station worker's now at dark, and he turns around and the sun's out. That just shows, that scene right there depicts how that movie is really No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
No one is expecting Bardem's character at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's a movie where everyone is so accustomed to their lifestyle. And like I said with Leisure, Anton Chigurh is a force of nature. He comes into that movie like a tornado.
Yep. Agreed.
So and what I love about it is that there's no music in it at all. And so that helps. It helps with the subtle moments, like that scene where it shows it takes like literally 3 minutes to unscrew that vent with the penny.
Yeah.
Who has the attention span, if not the Coen brothers, to do that?
Shout out to the Coen brothers.
Yeah.
Very deserving
Yeah.
of Best Director and Best Picture.
Yep.
I'm upset that they don't direct the kind of porn that I watch.
that was a super bad reference.
Yeah, nice shout out to those Superbad fans out there. But my main, I think my favorite character in that movie might be Tommy Lee Jones.
No, man, my favorite's Josh Brolin.
I don't know. Because I've always been a Tommy Lee Jones fan.
You really?
Yeah, I always have.
Wow. I give that movie credit for introducing me to such actors like Javier Bardem and Josh Brolin. I knew who Tommy Lee Jones was for all my life, but that movie really put those two on the map for me.
Introductions, because Josh Brolin, in my opinion, to this day, is still underrated.
Oh, very underrated, and he's been nominated twice, I think, if not more.
So my main reason for that movie is just the directing.
Yeah.
The way the cameras do, and
see, that's why I consider it. I wouldn't put it necessarily on my favorite, but that's a great best of movies. You catch my drift.
Okay, moving on to number 2 on my list of favorite movies of all time.
Okay.
Another Tarantino movie.
Okay.
Pulp Fiction.
Really? What could be number 1 then? Because my money was on that number 1.
Is regarded as one of the greatest movies of all time.
It is, and for it not winning Best Picture that year only makes it better.
Oh yeah.
Only makes it more desirable to see, because they say if that didn't win, what could have?
Because to me, the way that Tarantino can put like 5 different stories in a movie, but yet they come together.
Yeah.
Is amazing.
Oh, just how the very first scene is one of the last scenes with Tim Roth.
Because you literally almost have 4 different movies in one.
Yeah.
But yet they still come together and don't lose your attention.
It's like you have 4 different stories in one. So.
And they don't lose your attention for 2.5 hours.
And you're right. It's fascinating how they can combine them all. And I think the scene when they do combine them is when they show Tarantino on screen. Yeah. When they're talking about the coffee scene or the dead nigger storage scene, that's that part where it's all combined. And it's a little nod that you see Tarantino in it.
Yeah. And Tarantino always throws himself kind of in the perfect moment of his movies.
And that's another thing that I like about Tarantino and Scorsese is that they can direct dramas without taking things too serious. Like, I love that scene when at the very beginning where Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta, they're talking, and then they say, hey, let's get into character. We're about to kill some people. Who would acknowledge the fact that these hitmen can talk about McDonald's 5 minutes before they're going to kill a family?
Yeah.
Great movie.
And meanwhile, John Travolta's sitting there in his boxers in a restaurant.
Yeah, it's so good. It's a classic.
Because he had to change his clothes because,
It's one of the top 4 best movies of the 90s. And that's saying something.
And one of, in my opinion, the greatest movies ever. Just, I don't know. It's just...
No, I completely...
I'm a little biased because of Tarantino, but...
Well, like you said, my Scorsese is your Tarantino. And I completely... Like how you can understand how Goodfellas is mine, I completely can understand why Pulp Fiction is easily number 2 on your list. I thought it was going to be number 1, honestly.
Oh. Now, number 1 of my favorite movies of all time is The Dark Knight.
No way!
Yep. That
Holy
is
shit.
regarded ever since I've seen that movie. Anytime anyone asks me, what's your favorite movie, I say The Dark Knight. That movie is my favorite because of Heath Ledger.
Can I be honest? I was going to go in for 2 movies whenever you were going to do your top 10. I was either going to say Pulp Fiction, which is number 2, or I thought you were going to say Superbad. But The Dark Knight was literally a 360, an awesome 360. Because...
No, that's...
I mean, obviously, you're
same. That was
Same.
that was second on my list. So that literally is 2 and 1. That's so close.
Especially out of every movie there ever is, for these to be your list to actually contain movies that are the same.
Tell y'all something out there that's never seen The Dark Knight.
Just go watch The Dark Knight.
Where have you been hiding? Under a rock or something?
Yeah.
I mean, just a quick shout out. There's only been 2 movie characters who have won more awards than Heath Ledger's Joker. That's Daniel Day-Lewis for There Will Be Blood and Jamie Foxx for Ray.
Yeah.
You know?
Deservingly so.
But have we already talked about why The Dark Knight's so cool, or do you want to go into a little bit extra scenes? Because I was thinking of an awesome scene right now is whenever...
Start it off.
Is whenever... in the interrogation room, keep in mind that's the best scene in all the Nolan Batman movies, that interrogation scene.
Oh, yeah. By far.
But that scene where the Joker is just laughing and Batman grabs a chair and puts it underneath the entrance door to kind of block off the cops, and you see Commissioner Gordon kind of racing to him to try and open it before he slams it shut. That really shows that the Joker literally has just won and Batman is completely defenseless, because that's him saying, hey, I'm not a cop here. I can do whatever the fuck I want to this guy. Yeah. I live by no laws. I live by no code. I can beat him within an inch of his life.
Yeah.
But yet he doesn't, because that's what he wants.
Yeah, because he figures out after a few punches that
I'm gonna need these guards are gonna have to take me off him, and I'm gonna stop that by shoving that door down underneath that.
Yeah, because I'm just gonna kill him and not get anything that I want out of him, because he's not gonna tell me anything. Because every time he punches him, he just laughs harder.
Yeah, just laughs harder and harder.
Because he's insane.
And that, and so we talked about this the other day, that one scene where this just shows how brilliant and how smart, not Heath Ledger's, but the character of the Joker himself is that whenever he tells Batman, whenever he reverses the role, whenever he reverses the addresses of Batman and Harvey Dent, not only does he know that he's going to go after, naturally, Rachel Dawes, but he's going to get to her faster because he has that little bat pod zipping around. He doesn't have to obey the rules of the road. So that just shows right there how just crazy diabolical he is.
Branching off from that interrogation scene, I love when after Batman leaves, they put that cop in there with him.
Yeah.
And Heath Ledger looks at him and he's like, so how many friends of yours have I killed?
Yeah.
And he's like, and he just kind of ignores him, and he's like, I've been on the force for 20 something years.
Yeah.
He's like, I've dealt with your kind. He's like, there's crazies, and then there's just
people who enjoy
like pain or whatever, just like the fact. And he's like talking about like how he stabbed him or whatever, and he's like, that's how you really get to know someone right before they die. And he's like, so in a sense, I know your friends way better than you ever did.
Yeah, because you've never seen them at such a vulnerable state. That's such a good scene.
That's fucking insane.
Like I said,
he is nuts.
Like I said, that's the best movie I've ever seen in theaters. By far.
That's one of the best movies of all time.
Yeah, I know, but it's one of those, like, I wish I would have seen Star Wars Episode 4 in theaters. I wish I would have seen Jaws in theaters. No, I've seen The Dark Knight in theaters, and that pretty much is damn near close. Yep. So that's a good list. Like I said, you threw a couple curveballs at me. I wasn't expecting. A couple good ones, like Dumb and Dumber is right on, and I was expecting Halloween to be up there. And of course, like I said, the surprise of your countdown was number 4, Nightcrawler. That's one of the best movies of last year. It's good enough to where I bought it at midnight on Blu-ray at Walmart.
That is quite the list that you two have. I've only seen a few of them, so I don't have much to go on, but now I have a list of movies to watch, about 15 of them. So
does everyone else out there.
Yeah.
So go watch all of these movies, or we will hunt you down and kill you. And now this is premeditated. All right, we're going to end our first podcast here. I really hope you guys enjoyed listening to this. I hope you would, continue to listen to our podcasts. And we really enjoy doing this. This is something that I've listened to these guys do for months. I've been in the backseat the whole time thinking about different topics to help broaden people's movie spectrum to if you like something, if you liked any part of these movies that you think you would like to watch, go watch them, go see them, see what they are for yourself. I personally like the mix, the genre mix.
No,
I have a lot of movies to go see now
that
are a completely different array of movies. These are I mean, there's anything in these lists. You've got comedy, you've got horror, you have suspense, action, drama. You've got it all. This is already days. There's no genre that can't be mentioned on these lists. They really hit it off. It really surprised me that you guys, out of every movie, would have similar movies, the same movies, not in the same position, but 3 of the same movies in your top 10 favorite list. And these are
millions of movies on the planet.
Out of all of the movies on the planet. Yeah. So again, I really hope that you guys enjoy this. I will link an email to the description, and I want you to send me your thoughts. I want you to tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what you liked about this. Tell me what you didn't like. Tell me if you liked any of these movies, why you like these movies. I want to hear it. I want to hear everything that you guys have to say. We really appreciate you listening for this entire time. I know this has been hitting it off. This is a little bit of an extra long podcast. I'd say maybe an hour 20 at this point, but these are, I think it deserved it. This really hit home, and this is what the kind of content we want to bring to you. So I hope you guys tune in again. Let me know what you think. Thanks again.
Thanks everyone for listening to our lists, and maybe you agree with them, maybe you didn't. Yeah. If you did, let us hear your comments, questions, whatever you have. If you had more movies, tell us why. Maybe your list is better, maybe it's not, whatever. We'll just give us your opinions and comments, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I just really pretty much just eval what they just said. We really appreciate you guys listening.
Give us the opportunity.
Yeah, give us an opportunity to let us be a part of your lives through our knowledge of movies. Well, not knowledge, but our love for movies.
And we hope to continue this adventure with you as long as we can do this. So thank you.